For someone who doesn't know you, who is Angus Dine?
I am a track athlete, so I compete in the 100 metre and 200 metre.
Yeah, so looking back, when did it stop being just a sport and something you genuinely wanted to chase?
It would have been grade 5, because obviously I was into little athletics. I was competing at that throughout primary school. But then it got to grade 5 and I was like, right, I'm going to try out the school athletics side of things. So, you know, your districts, your regionals, that sort of stuff. So I went to districts. I think I'm fairly certain I won that in the 100 and the 200. And then I went to regionals and I got 4th. So I missed out on making the regional team by 1 place. And then from there, like that was really upsetting for whatever reason, and I decided, all right, I'm going to start actually training for it. And then by the time the next year came around, made that team, made it through the state, which I think I made the semi-finals in my events. But then from there, just kept at the training. I enjoyed it, and then yeah, here we are.
How many injuries do you think you've had over so far? However many years you've been doing it, how many injuries? Fair bit?
Yeah, I'd say probably, hang on, let me count. Major ones, probably 5. One of them, fracture in my shins.
Why do you cop so many injuries?
Well, can be a number of factors. Obviously, a big one would be technique with your running. If you're throwing your leg around in the wrong way, that's not good for the muscle. It's just gonna, if you've got too much load on it and, you know, you're running at full speed, it's gonna go at some point if you're running poorly. Another reason is strength, which we've got on top of a lot recently. And then third would be mobility, which ties in with the technique side of things. If you are tight in certain muscles, your body's going to be in a different position. You're going to be putting one muscle through more length and putting more load on it, and that's not so good.
Okay, interesting. Does this happen to like other people, or is it just like do many athletes struggle with this, or no?
I'd say I've probably got it bad, but like most of your athletes will go through some form of injury in some way throughout your career. It's just some are a bit more susceptible to it than others, like myself, mainly due to my mobility issues has been the main cause of it. But so yeah, this past year has just been getting on top of that mobility side of things. The strength's there now, and then so it's just keeping everything mobile so that I'm not placing too much strain on everything.
Yep. Okay. So now you mostly, is it the 100-meter sprints that you're probably most passionate about?
Yeah, 100%. No pun intended. But yeah, me, who's someone who's a bit more on the stronger side of things, as opposed to mobile, or like you'll hear the term like elastic in your running, like not as springy. That's the 100's much more suited to me because it's like, well, it's done a lot quicker, so you can rely on your strength over your elasticity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I haven't thought about that before. What don't people realize about the amount of work, sacrifice, and preparation that goes into those few seconds, however long it goes for?
Yeah, well, it would come down to the amount of training that goes into it. Like you said, you race
Walk me through what the training is like.
Okay. Well, for me, I train usually 4 or 5 times a week, depending on the time of season. So it's 2 sessions on the track. We'll usually go for an hour and a half, 2 hours. 2 sessions in the gym, which are usually 2 hours. And then sometimes, depending on the time of season, I'll have an extra track session. And then you've got at the moment, I've got a mobility session that I'll do to keep everything moving, which I definitely need because of all my injury history. But, you know, you take into account all that time, that's like between 10 and 15 hours a week of training or getting to training or your recovery and mobility. So then you take that into account, do that every week over the span of a year, and then you've got basically, if you mess up one race, then it's your season over. So there's that amount of time that you're putting into it. You have 10 seconds to make it work, and then if you don't, you've got another year to do it all over again.
Do you wish things were different?
Not necessarily. I think it's a good way that
you didn't describe that very. It seems like it can be kind of harsh on you. No.
Oh, it can for sure. Like, it's different to some other sports. Where it's like, you know, your team sports. You know, you'll play other teams. Basically, whoever's got a better record at the end of the season will go to like your finals and whatnot. So there's time both over the season and time even within a game itself where you can make mistakes, you can adjust, you can then do better. Whereas in a sport like this, where it's like you've got one attempt, and then, you know, if you do well, cool, you're on to the next round. Then you've got one attempt again. And anywhere along that time, if something goes wrong, then like that's your race gone. But equally, I think I do like that it's that way. Like, it's part of the fun of the sport. It's very, what do you call it? It's not as skill based. It's more a display of your athleticism. It doesn't allow for mistakes, and that kind of makes it more of a spectacle, I suppose.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I haven't thought about it like that before. Yeah, look, so just I think, yeah, probably you've spoken about like running a lot, and you also mentioned to me that you're still figuring out your purpose in life, and you've had conversations with your parents, and you've said that's really helped. What's the biggest lesson that you've taken away from those conversations?
Yeah, I'd say it would be that like, you're more than your sport, which I think a big thing for a lot of athletes doing sport is your whole life. That's what you are, that's what you do, that's what people know you for. And so you go through life, you're doing that, it's all well and sweet. And then you either get to a point where, you know, you have an injury, your career's done, or, you know, you get old, your career's done. There's a point at which, regardless of where it happens, that is no longer your thing, and you've got the whole rest of your life to live out. And it's like, well, what are you? Like, what is there then? And so I think disassociating your identity from your sport is a big thing that, you know, many people don't realize until that time comes. So I'm just grateful that while I'm still in it, while it's still my thing, I've had that realization I can focus on other areas of my life, like my career or, you know, my social life, just for example, making sure that there is some foundation there for when I decide, or my body decides for me, yeah, no, we're done with this. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good then, because I think that's a really important message almost. Like important knowing that. Yeah, wow. And you also told me that you rely on discipline a lot, yeah, more than motivation. When life gets tough or progress stalls, what does discipline actually look like for you?
For me, it's literally just keeping a routine. Like, it's nothing special, but you put a plan in place and then you stick to it. Like, if I decide I've got training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at these times, then you show up at those times and you do it regardless of how you feel. Because you've built the habit, you've got the schedule in place, and it just comes down to doing what you've decided to do, that you've written out. You've got the schedule written out. And yeah, sometimes you just got to do it.
Mm-hmm. And your goal is to win another national gold and compete internationally.
Mm-hmm.
If you could speak to yourself in 2 years from now, what do you hope you've achieved? Not just in athletics, but as a person.
I think that's a good question. I think I would like to have seen growth in myself. Obviously, that's a very broad thing to say, but obviously, most importantly, as a person, like regardless of how my sport's going, how my career's going, the most important thing to me is that you're developing as a human. You're still going out of your way to do good for others. So that's a big one. Secondly, yes, I would like to see improvement in my sport. But if that doesn't happen, it's a matter of how have I used my experience in that to contribute to other areas of my life, like with physio, for example. How can I use my experience to further my knowledge and understanding of that field, so that then one day I can be of benefit to others and help them through my experience. So yeah, I suppose just using what I've learnt to help contribute more to others.
Okay, interesting. And one last question, just being conscious of the time here.
Mm-hmm.
If you could speak to the people like you when you were in grade 5, people in that position, what's your message to them, or other athletes, or people struggling with injuries? What's your message to them?
I think you got to keep at it. Like, it's very easy to just give up after it happens once or twice, or in my case, like it's almost every year that something will go wrong. But it's like the process of, learning your body, figuring out where can you improve, how can you, prevent these things from happening in future. I think being able to just look at, and this relates not only to sport, but just at an individual level as well. It's like, how can you take what has happened, what can you learn from that, what can you change, how can you apply that in future? And then you do that, you apply that, and then, if all goes good, things improve, that's great. If not, you do it again. At the end of the day, it's like, hopefully some good changes come about, whether it's in the form you would hope or in another way, shape or form. Some good will come out of taking lessons from your experiences.